Brother lads, welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. We have a problem, and the problem is the attack. Arsenal, exclusively according to the Daily Mail, will not be able to afford Alexander Isak. Not in January, not in the summer. And where that becomes a problem is that Mikel Arteta is obsessed with Alexander Isak. He's the striker he wants. He's the player he's obsessed with. He's the player he wants. And that should tell you all you need to know about the problem I'm actually talking about. So what are we going to do? What are the next steps? We don't want Victor Gyökeres. We're going to be talking into Victor Gyökeres because, and then the likes of Osimhen, because if you don't like Gyökeres and you can't afford Isak, what's the next plan? All right, we're going to be talking about the Arsenal options after Isak. Why can't we afford Isak? And more and more and more. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know, is Isak the player you wanted? If not, then looks like you have a win. And if we are not going for Isak, who should we go for? I will give you my alternatives, players I like, and especially, particularly, players I do not like. So it was an exclusive story from the Daily Mail, this time not from Sami Makbo, but the outlet is becoming more and more credible these days. And they are saying that Arsenal will not be able to afford Alexander Isak, not in January, not in the summer as well. So we can't sign him in January because Newcastle are probably quoting 100 million and 50 in both scenarios. His contract is a little bit long, 2027, I think, or 2028. So in the summer of 2025, he will still have 3 more years to go, 3 more years on his deal, right? And that's where Arsenal found the problem. Mikel wants the player, but he's expensive and really, really expensive. The conditions for this deal might change a little bit. And maybe that's why Arsenal have got to be patient and wait until the summer. The conditions might change. If Newcastle qualify for the Champions League, which they are likely to do, they have hit a bit of form, and surprisingly or luckily, the clubs around them, are just in bad form. You look at Tottenham Hotspur, you look at Chelsea, they're in bad form, and Arsenal as well. We are in bad form as well. So Newcastle, if they continue on the trajectory on which they are, maybe Nottingham Forest, hit a bad lack of form, Newcastle could go back to the Champions League. Now, why that is very important is because Isak wants Champions League football, and he has told Newcastle in big, bold, black and white, I want Champions League football. So it is considered that he will consider his options. He will look at his options if Newcastle don't qualify for the Champions League, and he will stay if Newcastle qualify for the Champions League. And if you're an Arsenal fan, there's so many problems. One, you have to pray for Liverpool to draw points, and then you pray that Arsenal win their games. That is number one, for us to win the title if you still believe in that. And secondly, you have to pray that even if Arsenal don't win the title, we stay within UEFA Champions League qualification positions. That is number 2. Number 3, you've got to add to your prayer list now that Newcastle don't qualify for the Champions League. Bloody hell. That's a lot. I cannot even pray for myself. I'm not praying for all those prayer points. I don't have that energy. So the guys that are prayers, if you know a good prayer, that's where we begin. Newcastle should not get UCL. Arsenal should get UCL, and Isak should push for a move out of Newcastle because they don't have UCL. So for me, I think it's very, very likely that the table ends the way it is. Liverpool win the title, Arsenal meander in 2nd or 3rd, and then Newcastle end up in 5th or 6th. I won't be surprised if something like that happens. Will Alexander Isak actively push to get out of Newcastle? If that happens, if they miss out on UCL, it's possible. But will Arsenal be the club that gets him? That is where today's story comes in. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, the Daily Mail have said they can't afford him. They can't afford 150 million. And that takes me back to the Martin Zubimendi deal. Arsenal could trigger the release clause of Martin Zubimendi. But we are not going to do that. We're going to pay slightly higher. Probably it's 60 million euros, the release clause, if we're to pay it at once. So Arsenal might go and, renegotiate the terms of the deal, probably pay 68 to 70 million euros, and then pay that money in installments, right? Rather than paying it at once. And the reason for that, as per David Onstein, is Arsenal have a big list of players they want to look at in the summer. They want to let go of players like Gyökeres, Zinchenko, and a couple of others, but we also want to bring in a couple of players. So that means that if you spend 70 million at once on one player in one window, you might not be able to sign other players, right? So Alexander Isak still is very, very complicated. 150 million euros. Isn't that like Neymar-esque figures, numbers? Isn't that what PSG paid? I don't know. Listen, we've paid 100 for Declan Rice, and that tells you that Arsenal can pay 100 for a player. But 150, that's a little bit crazy. Again, for a manager, for me, that I no longer believe in, for a manager I think should be out of this club, I think it's a little bit crazy. But of course, we wait and see what happens. But Arsenal will not be able to afford Alexander Isak, according to the Daily Mail. 150 million euros is definitely not happening. And if it's 100, and Arsenal want around 4 to 5 players in that same summer, again, that might be a deal that is already there. Now, what surprises me is this. We cannot afford Isak. And the next best thing to Alexander Isak on the market is Victor Gyökeres. And I tell you, like slowly, so that Manchester United fans don't hear, Arsenal are not interested in Gyökeres. Actually, they are using the word, Arsenal have reservations about Victor Gyökeres. And one of those being, he might not be able to score goals in the Premier League. Now, because he's playing in Portugal, they're saying he might not be able to replicate that form in the Premier League. This is what I would say to that. Utter rubbish, nonsense, and garbage. Like, that is, if your PR puts out such a reason, that is utter garbage. Reason being, think about it. We bought Julian Timber outside the Premier League, Odegaard outside the Premier League, Merino outside the Premier League. And you look at Havertz, we brought him from the Premier League and Sterling, and they're dead with Gyökeres and Zinchenko. There is a reason why I would listen to Arsenal, right? If they tell me that we have signed Isak over Gyökeres because we are fearful that Gyökeres might not replicate what he has done in Portugal, I would understand. But you can't afford Isak. You're going for a guy in Šeško that is like a lame goal scorer. Šeško is Balogun and Edin Nketiah levels. If you're going for Šeško, who has not even proven, right? Leaving Victor Gyökeres, and the reason is you don't think he will replicate the form. I don't understand it. I really, really, really don't. Because for me, with Victor Gyökeres, you're looking at a guy who's got his numbers backing him. You can point to his numbers and tell the fans, hey, we've signed a 30 to 40 goal machine. If he doesn't score the goals, it didn't work. But if you bring in Šeško is scoring like 16 goals in the German Bundesliga. If you bring in Šeško and he starts scoring 2, 3, 4 goals like Gyökeres, no one is going to be satisfied with Šeško. And again, I have not been convinced by Šeško in any way, shape, or form that this guy is good enough. Like, not at all. Now, let's talk about, because I want us to dissect Vlahovic and the situation. So Vlahovic has had a knee operation. Now, Arsenal are using that as an excuse for them to say, he's had a knee operation, and therefore we are fearful that that might return. Thank you. What happened to the confidence we used to sign Riccardo Calafiori? Because Riccardo Calafiori has had a lineup of injuries, like a whole lineup of injuries. What happened to that confidence? What happened to the confidence we used to sign Zinchenko and the confidence we used to sign Gyökeres? Jesus? Because these are injury-prone players. Now, of course, you could argue that Gyökeres Jesus wasn't too injury-prone, something like Partey and maybe Zinchenko. Zinchenko was injury-prone already. But the other two were not as injury-prone as they have been at Arsenal. Maybe I could listen to that. But for me, for Victor Gyökeres, a player who is not that injury-prone, for you to say that you're fearful that he will pick up injuries, unless you've talked to an expert, and I don't trust Arsenal experts, by the way. I really, really don't like. If our experts let us sign Calafiori, who is injury-prone, and his injury-prone record is continuing at Arsenal, I don't trust our experts. I don't trust our physio guys. Anyway, we'll quarrel later. So we can't afford Isak, and we don't want Victor Gyökeres. Who are we looking at? Benjamin Sesko and Dusan Vlahovic. Benjamin Sesko is the leading candidate. Arsenal still think they can get that deal done at around 50 million. And Vlahovic is a long-term target. So maybe at some point in time, Arsenal could go and do the Vlahovic deal. But it looks like Sesko is the one we want. Now, I've already said this. It's not about getting a striker, anyone. It's about getting the right profile for me. It's about that. It's about getting the right guy. Like the way Man City went and got Haaland. The way, Liverpool signed Salah after Mane. The right profiles. And we've got it so wrong when it comes to forward players. Jesus was wrong. Havertz was wrong. It's solid Trossard. It's solid Trossard. I mean, Sterling was wrong. God, I pray that the next two forward signings are correct. Because, I can't imagine Arsenal splashing 50 million on a wrong striker. And then another 50 million on a wrong winger. Where do we go from there? Right? So, why Benjamin Sesko for me is the wrong option? Why is the wrong option? First and foremost, Benjamin Sesko as a player, to be honest, he is a Brighton and Hove, not even Brighton and Hove, because I think Brighton and Hove are really good at Sporting Tallinn. He's like, I don't know, Brentford? I think he should go to Brentford. I think it's Brentford that should be looking to sign Sesko. This is a guy that's going to score for you 20 goals with 6-7 penalties. But for Arsenal to be crazy about a player like Sesko, whose profile is clearly under-decorated, not decorated at all. I just don't understand it. Now, of course, he's different from what we have, but we're looking for a properly thick figure up top. We are looking for a fox in the box. Sesko is not. He's not a fox in the box. Actually, to take Sesko, I'll take Vlahovic. Because I think Vlahovic is like a guy that has had that kind of reputation before, right? He's had that reputation, small reputation before, and he might build from that. I would take Vlahovic all day. The other options are Matthias Cunha. I like Cunha. I've told you before on the old podcast, I like Cunha. So if we get in Cunha, no problem. No problem. And then Brian Mbeumo as well as an attacker. Mbeumo can do as a striker and a winger as well. So that maybe that's the reason why I would listen to anyone who's pro Mbeumo. I like Mbeumo. I think he's a good player. I wouldn't bring him in Arsenal, honestly. But It's not bad, is he? Okay, he's not that good, but he's not that bad. Yeah. No, basically that's it. So the big news is that Isak to Arsenal is not happening this January, definitely, and we cannot afford him this year. Maybe if Newcastle bring the damn price down. I don't know who we are going to get as an attacker now. Like, I really, really don't know. But I'll keep you posted. Hit the like button, subscribe as well. See you soon.